Thank you, everybody, for joining the Free Time Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, Robert Gaines. Appreciate you joining us. I've just joined Podmatch, which is a great place for podcasters to find guests, and if you want to be a guest, to find hosts as well. I'm very new to the service. I just recently had my first interview. If you're connected with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll have that. That was Book 101 review. But this episode, what I wanted to talk about was consulting. I had a very brief career of consulting during the housing crisis. Always a wonderful time to do consulting during a down economy. As I say, up economies produce opportunities and down economies produce opportunities. One of the strangest things is I was actually in a marketing position at a company during the housing crisis before I broke off on my own. One day we had a big meeting about what was going on with the economy. The effects of the marketing had slowed down despite spending the same amount of money. I was openly questioned about that and had to politely explain that they had competitors completely going out of business. So for us just to go from pretty fast growth from when I came in, I justified my salary and we got some really quick early wins. Things started growing very fast. The numbers looked really good and then they started to slow down. Once you hit that low hanging fruit, you're going to usually make the biggest impact. And you're just trying to slowly grow on that. The growth had slowed down. We weren't going backwards. I had to explain to the owner of this company that we were still growing in a down economy and they had competitors that were completely leaving the playing field. It was a little bit embarrassing for them because I was very well prepared to defend myself, but it's strange to be in a position and having to defend your ground. That's a tough thing about marketing. It's a tough thing about any type of business investment. But where I really learned a big lesson when I worked and did some consulting for a sign company, believe it or not, it was Signorama, which is a franchise. I believe they're still out there. But I started to try to understand what the needs of their clients were so I could best tell them what they needed to do. And what really shocked me, this wasn't just for retail businesses, but they primarily serviced retail businesses with signage needs. Their big money was when a new business opened up and had a big sign put out front, a highway sign, so to speak. That was really big money and big projects. They weren't reaching the potential prospects enough. They would usually catch them right after they've done that. The big spend on the big sign had already usually been done. So they get there a little late and then they're just supplying maybe the window banners and the window tints for the business and regular banners and some of the promotional things that they provided when they do networking, car wraps and things like that. So they were catching them a little further down the line on the lower profit items, and they wanted to get more competitive. So I showed them how to access where businesses are applying. If you've ever filed for an LLC or you go downtown and you register or you go online and you register your business name, you get absolutely assaulted with mailings and email. And because unfortunately the county or the government office is selling your information, you just get covered with offers. I worked with them to try to get with those companies that were just being launched. But what really shocked me is when I started sitting face to face with some of these companies, and some of them were, let's just say, I remember a few cases that were restaurants and financial service companies. They would gladly spend tens of thousands of dollars on whiz-bang furniture for the office, the latest computers, everything that was kind of sexy, and of course the owner's office oak and spare no expense. But the sign out front, which is the cheapest, if you look at return on investment, if you've got a retail store that's on a main thoroughfare, that sign is the best money you'll ever spend to bring customers in. Hands down, nothing else comes even close. They would do their best to lowball and get the absolute worst sign possible. Then they would get heavily involved in the design and it would be unreadable. That really shocked me. Of course, I didn't understand that until I was working with Signorama. You need 40% white space. Now, that's true whether you have a banner or a business card. If you've got too much jumble and too much text, a confused mind won't buy. They won't stop by and they won't absorb what's going on when they're driving past your place at 40 miles an hour. It was incredible to me how much cost they were trying to reduce on the most important thing that was going to draw people into their business. I saw that in consulting. Usually, things that I really didn't like about consulting. Number one, people don't understand the value of your time. I made mistakes. I know what to do and what not to do, and that took years and years. That has value. People don't understand that value. They just see, well, you're just coming in for a few hours. We don't understand why the tab is so high. It's very hard to explain that value to someone, especially a small business. Maybe larger businesses get that a little bit, but that's a much tougher market to break into. Number two, they will partially implement your suggestions and then blame you for the failure. If the doctor tells you to do 10 things to heal your broken shoulder and you do five of them, and you don't heal as you shouldn't go back and blame the doctor because you only half complied with the instructions. Well, unfortunately, in the consulting game, people are paying you. They might think they're in full compliance with what needs to be done, but a lot of them will partially comply or half comply and then blame you for not getting the results, which is unfortunate. And the third thing I don't like about consulting is it's usually more what I would call hunting and gathering. And I prefer to have a long-term relationship. I don't like big long-term projects where I'm solely involved with one client for a very long period of time. I would prefer somebody join a mastermind group, and then if they choose to come into the monthly meeting and air what they need, we can address their needs. The consulting gig, you might get 18, 20, 30, 100 hours of business with a company, and then you're off to your next company. So I prefer situations where you've got more long-term arrangements with people where they're paying you monthly. You have these set meetings or set expectations to work with them. Hunting gathering method means you're always stuck in this constant mode of hustling clients and you can't build your business. If that's you, reach out to me. I can talk to you about some things that you can change about the structure of your business. I've started to talk about more frequently. I'm what they call a low ticket business. I sell books primarily. That's my main thing. I am still in the insurance industry if they need me, but I've primarily considered myself at this point to be a podcaster and a writer. So I have a book to sell. And by this time next year or early next year, I'll have two books to sell. Low ticket, it's just the cost of a book, very cheap. I am not really interested in working someone up what they call the value ladder. So let's say they give away the book in exchange for an email, which I think is a good strategy. But what they really want to do is rope you into some type of expensive consulting or get you to an event or things like that. I'm not really interested in that. I don't want the pain of partial implementation of my suggestions to cause problems between the client and I. Read the book. If you apply the principles, you'll do fine. If you don't, that's up to you. At the end of the day, you spent $20. It's not that big of a deal. But if you come to a seminar and give me $6,000, I would expect to receive some value for that money. I'm not really interested in doing that. It's very hard because I get a lot of email pitches from consultants and advisors that want to help build my business. I'm in the low ticket. I'm in the lower end. What I sell is very cheap, and a lot of things I give away for free. They really don't know how to scale somebody like me. I know how to scale somebody like me. I just have to write more books. For the average author out there, if there are any authors listening to this, mainly you just go on podcasts or run a podcast and run ads on Amazon for your book. That's basically going to be your strategy. If you're not interested in consulting and working people up a value ladder, that's your best play. Run ads, keep your face out there constantly, and be a relentless self-promoter. That's how you do it. I'm really not interested in high ticket. I would like to be involved in some events later on, but I would want to make sure that I have some really high impact information to give to people. And I think there are a lot more people that are comfortable that may know less, and they're very comfortable selling what little they know for a lot of money. I'm even constrained by ethical reasons. I'm in the middle of a book by Dan Kennedy, and as smart as he is, he's teaching people how to sell high ticket clients. I couldn't do it ethically. Some of these people just aren't at a stage in their life where they should be out there charging $6,000 or 10 or 20 to listen to them. But they're going to leave that conference and they're going to go out there. They're going to start a ClickFunnels. They're going to run some advertising and they're going to get some clients. I've had a lot of consultants. I've had a lot of people come on the podcast and interviewed, and I have friends in that industry. I don't know too many, unfortunately, I haven't been approached by too many people saying, look, that so-and-so just radically changed my business. You've got to go to so and so. The last time I went to a quote unquote expert, it cost me the most money I've ever spent in my career on a singular thing, and it produced zero results. So I'm very skeptical when it comes to spending money. And that's why I'm not on here constantly begging for money or trying to get you to pay me as a consultant, because I think if I'm not capable of very specifically solving your problem, I don't have the right to charge you money. You can read a book, maybe mine, get some ideas, but that's the extent of it for me. If I have specialized knowledge to specifically address one of your problems, yes, I'll take money for that. But otherwise, I think a mastermind group is great. As far as spending money, the right mastermind group, let me preface it with that. And I'm not trying to sell you on mine because we're not currently taking anybody new. And that's not a pitch, it's just the truth. A good mastermind group where everybody is holding each other accountable. That's really what it is. I look at a mastermind group. It is good to bounce ideas off other people in other industries. I love that part of it. I think the biggest strength for me personally is we hold each other accountable. If you say you're going to approach this big client and do this big pitch and do it before whatever, or have your manuscript finished by X date, we're going to hold you to it. I mean, we're going to be very polite about it, but on that next meeting, we're going to check on that. It's funny, I've been involved in other people's mastermind groups, and sometimes when that deadline comes up, the entrepreneur won't show up for that meeting. They'll come up to the next one once they've done everything. I was part of a very big, very expensive monthly mastermind group, and I was shocked that a lot of times it was the same people complaining about the same thing. And I'm not a big fan of that. I understand if you're having a problem about one thing, but if you're talking about that same problem a month from now and haven't implemented some structure in place, I'm probably not the guy you want in the room if you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So thank you so much for your support, the likes, the comments, the people that have been very interactive with the channel over time. I'm glad to be back. And I'll be on another show. I'll be on the Alicia show here soon, talking about the second edition of Scintilla. Talk to you soon.